Hello and welcome to the myminimaths.co.uk video tutorials. And today we're going to be looking at calculating equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages using 1/1000ths. And just like on the previous videos, we're going to be using the 100 square grid to help map out the questions and answers. So before we get started, let's have a little look at the value of 1/1000. So it'd be like taking a cake, cutting it up into 1,000 equal slices, and just taking one for yourself. So it'd be 1 per 1,000, 1 out of 1,000. Now we know that a percentage is out of 100. So just like with our equivalent fractions, you can see here that we've divided this by 10. So we need to do the same with our numerator at the top. So 1 divided by 10 is 0.1. So 0.1 out of 100. So it's 0.1%. And then as a decimal, if I do it at the bottom, because there'll be a lot more room, we have our units, we have our tenths, we have our hundredths, and then we have our thousandths, and we have one of those. So here we have our fraction, we have our percentage, and we have our equivalent decimal. So I think it's a good idea if we just make a little note of that up at the top to remind us of these key facts. So 1/1000th is the same as saying 0.1%. So it's like taking a percentage and chopping it up into 10 equal parts. And it's the same as saying 0.01 as a decimal. So let's move on to question 1, which is 23.8%. So this is our percentage. We're going to change this into a fraction and then finally into a decimal. So if we have 23.8%, and if we look at this on the grid, we have our 23 full percentages, and then we just have part of the next one, which would be 0.8. And another way of me showing this, I could remove the shade and just put 0.8 there. So altogether we have 23 wholes and then the 0.8 next to the 23. And if I change this, 23.8%, so it's like saying 23.8 out of 100. And we're going to change this to out of 1,000. We've times this by 10 to get 1,000. So we need to times this by 10. So we move all our numbers over one space bigger to make 238. So our fraction is 238 out of 1,000. Then as a decimal, if we look at our grid again, we can see it's 238 out of the 1,000. So our decimal is quite simply 0.238. And another way of looking at it here, we have 238 thousandths altogether. And next on to question 2, which is 0.743, and this is written as a decimal. So we're going to change this to a percentage and then a fraction. So if we take 0.43 as a decimal, we know that this is the thousandths. So altogether we have 743 out of 1,000, and that can feed straight into our fraction here. Don't always have to do it in the order that we write. Do it in any order that you feel best using. And then if we take the 743 out of 1,000, we're going to change it to out of 100, so it's a percentage per 100. And this time we've divided by 10, So we're going to make it one space smaller, so it becomes 74.3 per 100 for 74.3%. And finally, we're on to question 3, which as a fraction is 83 per 1,000. And we're going to change that into a decimal and then into a percentage. So, as a decimal, if we look at this 83 per 1,000, we're going to look at, we're going to look at our values here. So we have units, we have tenths, we have hundredths, and we have thousandths altogether. And when we put our number in, 83 per 1,000, so I've got no units, I've got 83 thousandths, and then the gap, we place a 0 for a final answer of 0.083. And then we can use this information here to help us with the percentage. So 83 per 1,000, we're going to change it to out of 100 because it's a percentage, and we can clearly see that we've divided by 10, so one space smaller, so 8.3 per 100 per cent, so it becomes 8.3%. For a final answer of 83 over 1,000 is the same as 0.083, which is exactly the same, which is equivalent to 8.3%. Thank you very much for listening again today. I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe to the MyMiniMaths.co.uk YouTube video tutorials channel.